Well, it has just gone 10, and we do have a good number of attendees. So we will get started on today's webinar, this month's webinar, Passkeys Explained. Little bit of housekeeping for those who haven't already heard. Everyone will be muted, but if you have any questions, please drop them in the chat, and we will record the session and make it available on our website in a day or two. So today we have Bill Lunam, our CTO, Kinetic CTO, and we all have Garreth Keet, our Network Operations Centre team leader, also known as the CARE team, joining us today to talk about Passkeys. So these guys are the experts in it. I'm enjoying learning about it today as well. Thanks very much, guys.
Thank you, Scott. So let's just kick into this. Thank you all for joining. This subject is very timely. If you haven't heard, Microsoft is doing two things around authentication. One is they are going to be retiring using text messages or the voice calling MFA methodologies. That's actually starting in September. So this is happening quite quickly for Microsoft, with them to be fully retired by February next year. So if anybody's using those, they're going to go. At the same time, Microsoft is going to be encouraging users to move to Passkeys. Now, if you do still use the code, your MFA code off of your phone, that's still going to be there. That's still going to be the option if you're used to that, but they certainly will be retiring the other ones and very much trying to focus on Passkeys. So we're going to talk mostly about Passkeys from a Microsoft perspective today. It's not a technical dive. It's kind of what are they, how are you going to use them, what's the impact going to be, what to think about. Of course, you can use Passkeys with lots of other providers as well. Everybody will, there will be variations, I guess, just like passwords. When you go to log in on some sites, one person's going to say, give me your login name. Then the next screen, they're going to say, now give me your password. Some are going to ask for both on the same screen. Same will happen across all with passcodes. There will be small variations about them. So that's the big news. Microsoft are retiring Passkeys, retiring those older forms because they are very vulnerable to phishing. Okay, now let's just for a moment think about passwords. If I was to ask the question, what do you see as being a problem with passwords? Most people are going to come back with very similar things. Actually, they're just complex, complex to manage. How do I keep track of all these different passwords in all these different places? I've got to have a password manager. Even then, I've got to, every time I go into a site, I've got to set a password up. I've got to remember to save it. And because of that complexity, you do wind up with leakage and reuse. But also in the actual passwords, the use of passwords themselves, there's two real vulnerabilities. One is that your password works. Your one password for a site works from any device, anywhere, at any time. Once that one password is leaked, it can be used anywhere. Right? The other problem with it, the other problem with passwords is literally you give your password away every time you use it. I'm going to log into the site, you go, here's my password. They compare it to their database. So that means they're very vulnerable to phishing. Okay? Now, with all that complexity, it's very easy just for a moment's inattention to mean that you've handed that password over to a phishing attack, to a fake website. There's a saying in security that you have to be lucky 24/7, 365 days a year. The hacker only has to be lucky once. Okay, so what are the advantages of passkeys? First is you don't actually have to remember anything. Passkeys are typically held in a device. in an authenticator app, in a password manager of some sort. The most common ones that will accept this, so it comes down, is put into a container. So I'm going to use the example through here of it being on my phone. Now that could be in a secure container, such as Apple iChain, Google Password Manager. The Microsoft Authenticator app will hold your Microsoft one, or an enterprise password manager. It's then locked, and the key is locked and secured within that container behind some sort of authentication process, be that it will only work if I use my fingerprint, my face recognition, or some other PIN code. And the passkey never actually leaves your device. So basically the authenticating service, the website says, prove to me you have the passkey, without actually giving me the passkey. I'm not going to go into the maths of how that works. I'd be true to say I don't really understand it myself, okay? Now you can have a passkey for every device. So I've got one login. I could have one passkey on my Apple phone, a different passkey for that login on my Android, a different one in a password manager. So I can have in effect multiple passwords to a site, and each of those passwords is tied to a device. So immediately that's more secure. I can also have that one passkey, and I can have that on multiple devices if I can share it using a password manager. So some password managers, not all password managers, will accept a passkey, but therefore I could have that one passkey saved in there, used across multiple devices. And I can also be logging into device A, but authenticating using my passkey off of device B. All right. So let's have a look at some of this. Now, here I've got a screenshot of my signins.microsoft.com. You can all get to this. This shows you your current Microsoft login processes. And if you can, or passwords and authentication methods. You can see the top one there is one that's going to be retired. That is the one where it will give me a phone call, if I remember correctly. Yes, that is. And I've got to answer it and prove who I am. Now, that's been there since probably I set this account up using Microsoft Authentication old enough to go that, you know, my beard wasn't grey at that point. You can see it's still there. See, this is good to go in and see what do you have and when you're going to cleaning up stuff you don't need. Then I've got my actual password, which I've changed recently. Then you can see I've got my Microsoft Authenticator. So the classic one we're all using, you know, it's going to pop up and say I have to enter the code that Microsoft is giving me. The bottom one is a passkey for it, and this passkey is saved into the authenticator on my phone. Okay. Now, I could, as I had said before, have saved it into a password manager. Just to cover off that, Kinetics, we offer two password managers. The legacy one, which is the one you buy in packs, doesn't currently support passkeys. That may be on the roadmap. We will be finding out in September. The newer password manager that we have, the more recent one we've brought in, does support that, but its pricing is more in line with most password managers. Okay, now, how do you create a passkey in 365? The simplest way is if you've got your authenticator, Microsoft Authenticator on your phone, very simple. You can open that up right now, the newest authenticator, go into it, go into your Microsoft account, go create a passkey. That's going to save that passkey into the authenticator on your phone, and immediately it will start to use it. Let's move. Okay, so what's that experience like? Now, Garreth is going to go into some of the things to prepare for this experience in a moment. First of all, what's it like for me? Here I've got some screenshots from when I've been using it on my desktop, which is a standard domain joined, old-fashioned device. I've got a desktop like that. I've got a Windows Hello laptop, and of course I got my cell phone. So I have different experiences in different places. On my desktop, when I go to launch a Microsoft application, it comes up and it says it's going to check to see what I've got. comes back and goes, I know you've got a pass key. Do you want to use that? I click on the top one. If I wanted to use my password, I could cancel and it would take me to my password, but I click on, I'm going to use the key. It puts up a QR code. I scan it with my phone, right, with the camera on my phone, and it says, prove who I am. Now that could be, like I said, that could be facial recognition on my phone, finger swipe, or a PIN. And then my phone tells Microsoft, yes, let him in. Okay. Now, my experience with using this is that I get less password prompts on all my devices. It's much less noisy. Okay. Now we have here a small video which we'll just play, which is Garreth going through the sign-in process on a laptop that has a fingerprint swipe. Now to demonstrate this, because he's already logged in because he needs to video it, so it's not the actual login, he's logging into a private web, in a private browser into a website, and you'll see just how simple and quick it is compared to a password. So he's logging into the website, it checks to see he's got a PIN, goes yes, so he's going to scan his finger, there you go, you're in. It's as simple as that. Okay, and he's into the Microsoft. Okay, now, Garreth, I think you're going to give us some tips about how we can manage our tenancy and be ready for passkeys.
So we'll go into a little bit more detail now. So cool.
Thank you.
I'm just going to take Control A and cool.
Right.
So just to recap with what Bill was saying earlier on, there in essence two types of passkeys. You're going to have device-bound passkeys and synced passkeys. So device-bound is purely linked to a physical device, which could be a YubiKey, it could be a Windows computer, or it could be your Microsoft Authenticator on your phone. It's important to remember that Microsoft Authenticator on your phone is actually a device-bound passkey. And if you're using Microsoft Authenticator on any other devices, you have to register passkeys on each individual device. The other option that you have is synced passkeys. So if you don't want to use the likes of Microsoft Authenticator, you do have the option of using Apple Keychain. So where you have all your Apple passwords, it can store your passkeys, and that will be across all your devices. Likewise, you can have with Google Password Manager, any other password managers that Bill was talking about, for example, 1Password, and there are others. And Microsoft will support it in Edge. So if you have your password stored in Edge and your passkey stored in Edge, that can go from one device to another. One of the things that we can do to secure things a bit better, because you can register different services, you might have some services you don't want your staff using. So we do recommend that we look at what you do want to register and we set the restriction to that. So we would probably want to restrict it to Microsoft Authenticator, Apple, Google Password Manager, and whatever password manager you're using within your enterprise. Likewise, if you want to simplify things for some of the staff, there are hardware keys called YubiKeys, and those you will set a PIN on the device. But when the user uses it and it knows the device, they put it in, it recognizes the user and they're able to sign in. It removes the need for them to have a phone with Microsoft Authenticator.
So am I correct in thinking for those people perhaps who don't have a laptop that supports fingerprints or something,
yeah,
the YubiKeys, you can get a version that actually has a fingerprint scanner on it?
You do get one that has a fingerprint scanner, which you can use. Also, Windows Hello allows you to use passkeys. So you could set, if it's a shared device, you can set passkeys on that. However, we do recommend, as I'm going to cover a little bit later, that you ensure that you use a secure PIN for that. We do also recommend using the likes of conditional access in combination with passkeys. to make sure that if people have got synced passkeys, that people are signing in with devices that you have approved for them to sign in. In addition, conditional access policies will allow you to use phish-resistant MFA, which will enforce the use of your passkeys. If you enable the phish-resistant MFA, your staff won't be asked to use passwords. Covering back to what Bill was covering earlier, there's a few vulnerabilities with regards to password only. Some of those are mitigated with MFA, but it doesn't eliminate the risk entirely. Both of those are considered phishable. So if you go to something that looks like the correct website, or something's redirecting you, people can get hold of your passwords and your MFA. Passkeys are a lot stricter in how they work, in the fact that when you use a passkey, your device will not send anything to the website unless it has verified that that website is actually the correct website that's asking for the credentials. So going back to that, passkeys are phishing resistant. So you're not typing your password. There's no password to be reused, no shared secret, and it's harder to phish. All right, I'm just going to go back a little bit further on this. So with regards to the passkeys on security, from a security point of view, because the passkeys are dependent on your device, there are the requirements that we do make sure that the devices are secure. So if somebody's got malware on your device, they could act on your behalf using that device if it's not properly secure. So we do encourage layered security with the likes of an EDR solution and good security practices. Okay. So first one that we need to do when we're going to start setting up environments is we need to have a look at what's being currently used, who's using what forms of multi-factor authentication, and then work with them to get them moved on across to passkeys, especially if they're using SMS or voice authentication. Because if we do enforce the use of passkeys and they haven't registered a passkey, the process can be quite disruptive. Cool. With regards to synced passkeys and device-bound passkeys, as I said, with regards to the device-bound passkeys, those are linked to devices, individual devices. So it is a good idea if you have multiple devices to have one on each device, so that if you lose the passkey, for example, your phone is lost or stolen, you have another passkey that you can log in. As Bill was saying, you have multiple passkeys, so you can remove an individual passkey without affecting any of the other devices that have been signed in. So that is quite convenient from that point of view. If, however, you do lose all access with regards to your passkeys, there are ways for us to get you bootstrapped. They call it bootstrapping, and that assisting to you to get signed in again. We can issue a temporary access pass, which will act as your passkey or multi-factor authentication to get you back in. Once you're in, you'll just be required to create a new passkey.
Okay. So,
yeah.
So Garreth, am I correct in saying that because the passkeys are now kept on your device,
yes,
it's important to make sure the devices are secure? So correct. Keeping them patched, keeping them EDR, AV on them, making sure that your cell phone does actually have a timeout, that it's going to lock. I mean, mine locks very quickly.
And
so
don't
looking
have a pin
after
of
device is really important.
And don't have a pin of 1, 2, 3, 4.
Yes.
Because if you've got a passkey on your mobile phone, it's as secure as how you get into your phone. So if it's an insecure pin, that's as secure as your passkey is.
Okay. Now we have a couple of questions, which I think are good questions to help us talk some more about this. So starting off with, what if you have a problem using QR codes? Okay, now the first thing to remember here is that certainly for the Microsoft side of things, they're not actually enforcing passkeys. They are removing SMS messages and the voice methodology for authentication. So your current MFA setup will continue to work because that is phishing resistant. However, you can, of course, if you do want to use passkeys, you can use a password manager that syncs the passkeys across devices. So I've used the QR code as a demonstration for mine. But if I could have also created a passkey and saved it into Enterprise Password Manager and had that on the device. There's also the ability to take the YubiKey type device, which means you can move from device to device with the YubiKey. So there are other ways about it. I could have, during my login demonstration, have actually said no, cancel, and it would take me back to a screen where I would have been able to say, I want to use another sign-in method. I want to use my password. Okay. What about putting passkeys? To set up a passkey on MS Authenticator phone, must it be a managed device on Kinetic service? No, it doesn't. Right. Because your authenticator is on your device, it's got that's yours. It's not ours. We don't manage it. It does need to be the latest version of the authenticator. So if you, for some reason, have an older version, then it simply doesn't support passkeys and some of these other features. But that should have automatically updated for you. Okay. Any other questions?
There's no other questions there. There's no other questions that we haven't answered. But just on that passkeys on phones, if you are going to use Authenticator on your phone, you're making sure that you've got a PIN number, making sure the device is updated.
Yeah,
I think all good policies to have in place.
Yes. I think from my memory here, some things, of course, I've been doing so long, I'm going, is there actually an alternative to this? My authenticator doesn't give me a choice. If I try to disable having a PIN to get into my authenticator, it simply reinforces it. Now, that could be a policy from Kinetics. On my phone, of course, that's doing that. But yes, I don't. With my Microsoft Authenticator, I don't have that option.
So I have a question. If you don't have, so it's not mandatory to do this, but if we were working with clients and businesses around their password management and maybe looking at their password policies, would we say, hey, if you've got we're looking at those, let's also look at passkeys as an opportunity to elevate that position? Is that something that would be recommended?
Yes, particularly in combination. Garreth was talking. He was talking about conditional access. So doing passkeys and controlling the devices that can access the network. So gives you a very secure package. So imagine I did manage to somehow a passkey for me got onto a different phone from my phone. If conditional access means that my phone has to be registered and have some other actions on it before it can access the network, that passkey on another phone would be useless because it's still got to be on my phone. So I mean, obviously if we change phones here, they get wiped, but you know, I could just imagine in a company, somebody gets a new phone and, oh yeah, I'll just give my old phone to my mother or something, and it doesn't get wiped. So using conditional access and registering and unregistering devices gives a very secure framework for this to work around.
Sure.
So I think with regards to implementation, you can also have a look at not necessarily doing a big bang approach. So you can do a phased approach and assign passkeys to users, likewise the registration campaigns, and likewise the conditional access policies. So you can say that these users you're going to enforce passkeys, but your other users, you're still using the older methods until you've got everybody comfortable and you want to move them across.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we're seeing, certainly I see more and more other vendors and providers offering passkeys. Almost every week I'll be logging in somewhere and they'll say, and it will pop up and say, do you want to set up a passkey? They will all kind of have variations in the way that they manage and deploy them. Thing to be aware of course, is you, as we were saying, you can save passkeys into like the Google Password Manager, which is on all Android phones. The Apple iChain which is on all the Apple phones. So just be aware that you are saving them there. So they will stay with that phone if you hand that phone on. Or if you then get a new phone, you'll go to log in. And if you haven't synced these things across, that passkey isn't going to work if it's just existing on that other phone.
We have two questions. Another one from Pat. Multiple instances of Microsoft Authenticator licensed under M365, i.e. phone and computer for each licensed user.
Yes, Authenticator is a free product. I think the difficulty with it would be if you've got two Microsoft Authenticators on two phones, and now I'm not talking about passkeys, I'm talking about your anything else you might be using MFA for. It's actually setting that MFA up on each phone, because it's that one-time key. But you can get a registration code and use that. So yes, if we are going to touch on authenticators, it's also a good reminder for everyone: always make sure you've got a backup in place, because if you do replace your phone or there's an emergency and you know whether it's planned or otherwise, having a backup is essential to getting all those MFA things working well.
So a good point going on to that is that you don't necessarily have multiple of the same authenticator. So you could potentially have a YubiKey as well as your Microsoft Authenticator, or use one of the other services. So you could have a passkey sitting on your password manager and one sitting on your Microsoft Authenticator. So you can mix and match.
And the other question or point that's raised is, yes, if everything's sort of tied to one key on one device, then what happens when that gets lost, when that gets smashed up? So you can have, as I said, you can have, this is one of the advantages of passkeys compared to a password. The passkey, I can have a separate passkey on different devices. So I can have a passkey that's saved into, passkeys saved into this phone, passkeys saved into another phone, passkeys saved into my enterprise password manager. And of course, currently, with every authentication of passkeys that I have used, you still have multiple options. I can still go, well, actually, I don't have access to my passkey. I want to revert back to using a password and MFA.
Another question there too is around a shared login.
Yep.
And I think that raises an interesting question, because most standards, most IT security standards now say you can't have a shared login. So maybe that should be a separate login with maybe a shared mailbox, would be my take on that.
Yes, from a
not
security,
sure what your take is, Bill.
Yes, from a security point of view, they do. It is, you should have separate logins so you can identify who the person is that's carrying out the actions, and other ways to share the the data that they need to access, like a shared mailbox. But there will be problems. And if I use the example of, and I don't know if they have passkeys on this, but Kinetics has an app for hop cards, right, or parking cards. And I think it might have changed now, but last time I was involved with setting that up, you only had one login. That's all all the vendor gives you for that is one login. So how do we deal with that? You get a password manager. You get an enterprise password manager where that can be shared across multiple people in a secure format with the one pass key. The other way is, of course, you can, as I was saying, you could have that one login, but you can have multiple pass keys. So I could have one login and a pass key on Sue's device and a pass key on Alan's device, and so on and so forth. So it is reasonably capable of handling that problem. Probably a little bit better than passwords, because in passwords it is that one common knowledge. You could actually have separate pass keys. But as I said, it might also vary depending on who the vendor of the application is and what they allow.
So I think just with regards to best practices, as Scott and Bill were saying, the best practice is always to have an individual ID for each person. However, in some cases, you do have a shared environment, perhaps like a reception device. You have the likes of Windows Hello, which is able to store your passkeys. In environments like that, you'll generally find the device may be secured by a decent PIN. So the people that use that device will use that PIN. That passkey will be available on that device.
I've got to say, as I said during it, my experience of using passkeys was, it's like anything change. I always go, oh gosh, change. I always seem to click on the wrong button at first. Very quickly got used to it, and immediately notice I get a lot less prompts to log in from Microsoft. And because of some of the roles that I filled, Microsoft enforced extra security on me. So that's very good. Microsoft is now looking and going, I don't need so much for me to keep on proving who I am. It's checking with the device I am, that I use all the time. Yes, it is that device, and we know that Bill's already said he's using it, so we're good to go. All right.
We're almost up to time. Is there anything else, Garreth or Bill, that we need to cover off?
Just, I will mention that on the slide that's sitting there, I've got a QR code down the bottom that takes you off to a bit of a video. I looked around, there are a lot of different videos on using passkeys and setting them up. That one I felt was pretty good. And what's our webinar for next month? That's only just going up now, and it's about AI within the business, and I'm just opening the link right now.
We also have an AI innovation circle too, which is running in September, which is a collaborative event that runs every few months to allow companies to share and work together on AI. And it's hosted at Kinetics.
Yeah, unfortunately, the next month's webinar isn't up. It's about AI within the business, and they've just announced it, but I can't follow the link whilst I'm in a Teams meeting.
That will be on our email signatures by the end of the day, I imagine, Bill.
Yeah.
So if you'll start to see email signatures, emails coming from Kinetics and outsource IT people. That'll be on our signature as well. So and also on our website. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Bill and Garreth, for your input and preparation. And thank you to all those who attended. If you are a Kinetics or outsource IT client and you would like to know more, just reach out to your account manager. Happy to have a chat and work with our lead engineers to get things, just right for you in this ever-evolving world.
Yeah, and don't be afraid of passkeys. It does sound, when you go, it's tied to a device. What happens if I lose the device, etc. Look, these things can always be sorted out, and it does seem to be very robust. Okay. All right.
Thanks very much, everyone.
Thank you, Garreth. Thank you, Scott.
Cool. Awesome. Thank you.